Hello, first tonight, a minister admits the government won't defend the whole of our coastline.
The Environment Minister was in the region today, the day that new plans were published for managing the coast of Essex and Suffolk. He was also shown another area where a large part of the beach has recently disappeared. He spoke to our political correspondent, Andrew Sinclair.
Stuart, this is a very real issue for dozens of communities across the region's coastline. And just to give you some idea of how serious it is, look at these pictures which were sent to us by Look East viewer Terry Hunt. This was the beach at Corton in North Suffolk 10 years ago. And this was it 7 years later. Look at that, the cliffs well and truly eroded. Now, it's the Environment Agency's job to come up with ideas on how to protect our coastline. And today it announced plans for a 340-mile stretch between Southend and Felixstowe. Now, major towns like Ipswich will continue to be protected, along with the ports of Felixstowe and Harwich. But some parts of the coast will be what's described as realigned, left undefended, for nature to take its course. It's a controversial policy that's been considered for other parts of the coast, because ministers insist there isn't the money to defend everywhere. This is one of the places where they plan to let the sea flood in, the outskirts of Frinton in Essex. The beach is already disappearing. Not many people live here, and the Environment Agency can't justify the expense of new sea defences. So in 40 or 50 years' time, this golf course will probably be underwater.
We're actually talking about a situation that is effective from 2055. So we've got several years between now and then before we even start to get concerned about it.
But further up the coast in Norfolk, they're more concerned. At Hopton, south of Great Yarmouth, a large part of the beach has disappeared. A few years ago, it boasted wide expanses of sand, a magnet for holidaymakers. Now, the groins, once buried, are starkly exposed. The beach level has fallen 9 feet in the last 2 years.
The beach plays a very, very important part. Our holidaymakers that come from London, some of them have never ever seen a beach. And I hope in the future that there will be an opportunity for those people to see one, because the way things are at the moment, it is becoming very debatable.
This could be rapid coastal erosion, or it could have something to do with a new harbour being built at Yarmouth, which residents fear has disrupted the sea currents. And the concerns aren't just about tourism. The residents say that if the sand is disappearing, that puts the cliffs under threat, which in turn puts their homes under threat. So today, the minister responsible paid a visit to Hopton to hear residents' concerns.
We not only have the challenges of climate change and sea level rise, but of course the softness of the coast, and also the fact that much of the east of England is slipping towards the sea. So all of those things combine to say there are going to be some areas where we simply cannot defend every inch of the shoreline.
He promised to do what he could for Hopton, but ultimately there are two options. Build large sea defences like these at Sea Paulin to stop the beach washing away, or let the sea gradually take over. It's the same decision planners are having to make all along the coast. The concerns of a coastal community in Norfolk. Now, the plans for defending the coast of Essex and Suffolk are now out for consultation, and the Environment Agency would like to hear the views of as many people as possible. Stuart.
Andrew, thank you very much.
2 sisters have been banned from setting up new companies after their lettings agency in Colchester went bust, owing more than £100,000. An insolvency service judgment revealed Nicola Hamblian and Lindsay Ives spent tenants' deposits instead of passing them on to landlords.
When Hotlets went into liquidation 2 years ago without warning, tenants and landlords were left thousands of pounds out of pocket. Now an insolvency service judgment has found that the company regularly used clients' money for general business expenditure. In one case, a victim was persuaded to hand over £11,000 to Hotlets as an advance on 1 year's rent. The funds were never passed on to the property's owner.
You appear to be trading as normal, but failing to pass on rent.
Landlord Roger Napier reads me a letter he sent to Hotlets. He was left £2,000 in the red.
Here are people who are living in very nice style, thank you, who have walked away with a lot of people's money and are sitting pretty at the moment, because all that's happened to them is somebody said, oh, you're not to trade for 9 years. Don't do it again.
At the time, Look East attempted to make contact with the agency's boss, Nicola Hamblian. I tried to talk to her again.
Well, I was told that Nicola Hamblian didn't want to comment, and we still don't know what's happened to tens of thousands of pounds of depositors' money. What we do know, though, is that Neither she nor her sister, Lindsay Ives, who is also a director of Hotlets, will be allowed to run companies for any time soon because the Insolvency Service has barred them both from becoming company directors. Nicola Hamblian for 11 years and Lindsay Ives for 9 years.
At her home nearby, Lindsay Ives told me that she too didn't want to comment. Essex police say they're not pursuing a criminal investigation as no one has officially asked them to. Meanwhile, Roger Napier and others are unlikely to see their money back. Alex Dunlop, BBC Look East, Colchester.
Well, Ian Potter is from the Association of Residential Letting Agencies in Birmingham at the moment. Could something like this happen again?
Yes, in fact, it is still happening at the present point in time. There are still agents disappearing with landlords and tenants' money.
So can anybody just set up as an agent?
Yes, they can, although the government did announce last month that it would like to regulate letting agents. That would be a mandatory requirement.
What would you like to see done then to stop things like this happening?
Well, what we would like to see is a mandatory regulation of letting agents whereby they had to meet minimum requirements, one of which would be to have client money protection, such as we have for our members. It operates like an ABTA-type bond.
Shouldn't there be a way, though, of stopping people actually siphoning off the money? Shouldn't that be the regulation, that it goes into an account and nobody can touch it?
Well, yes, that is the ideal situation, and that is what we require all our members to do. However, the member or the agent is still going to be a signatory on that bank account, and the bank do not know necessarily who those monies belong to.
Do you find it astonishing that this sort of thing is going on, and yet we don't have legislation that's going to stop it happening?
Yes, it's something we've been asking for the best part of 20 years now, and the government have been promising to look at it for quite some time, and yet we are still waiting, and there is in fact a great danger that this legislation could be lost as an election comes up and things stop.
Well, thank you very much for coming on this evening, Ian Potter. Well, still to come tonight, the teenager from Essex hoping to bring home the top prize in the Eurovision Song Contest.
And a slow start to the new Formula One season for the region's sports teams. I think that's the Eurovision Song Contest.